Alright guys, so today we're going to be making our black soap. So we're going to be using 4 cups of distilled water. That is if you actually have distilled water. And for people who do not have distilled water or can't get distilled water, you can make use of your rose water. So we'll use 4 cups of our rose water. Now the cup we're talking about is our measuring cup. Okay, so we need 4 cups out of it. One. Okay, so this is our 4th rose water. Now in case you're wondering how we came across our rose water being this pink, well, I used whitening rose water. Okay, so now we're gonna heat it up. I'm just gonna boil the water a bit. All right, so I'm actually using a double boiler method. Normally, if you don't actually have a double boiler, you can just use a pot. That will be faster. Right? I'm using a double boiler, so my water is already steaming up. So now I would need 2 tablespoons of lavender flour. These are lavender flour. It's 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and I'll also need 2 tablespoons of our chamomile flour. Right. So this is 1 tablespoon and 2 tablespoons. So we're using a crock pot. Hope you know that crock pot is actually very slow in terms of heating up things. So I'll just put it in my crock pot because your crock pot won't boil up. It's not going to boil up, and we just need a little heat. That's just all we need. The thing for us to do is to, put it together and allow it to steam up for just few minutes. Some people can leave it for a few hours, it depends, but we just need the heat, so we just get to cover it up. That's what we do. All right, so we had to measure up our black soap. So this is Ghana black soap. Actually, this is our Ghana black soap, and we measured 267. You see from here, you can see 2,267. I mean, it's 2,267 grams. So if you're using ounce, that's 80 ounce. That's of black soap we would need. So once we're done soaking up our lavender flour as well as our chamomile flour, then we get to strain the chamomile flour and the lavender flour. Then we've got to put it in the black soap. But before then, we get to leave our chamomile flour and our lavender flour in the water for 2 to 3 hours. All right, so it gets to sit in. It's just like if you're making tea, Lipton tea. You get to put the tea bag for a while in order for it to get the flavor you want. So that's how it is right now. So you get to leave it out for just 2 to 3 hours. Then you get it out and strain the flour out of it. Then the water is what we would need to soak this black soap overnight. All right, so at this point we get to open our crock pot. So here we have, what we have here is actually our lavender flour and also our chamomile flour. I use rose water, but it's not necessarily, if you can get distilled water, fine, but in the place where you can't get distilled water, then just use make sure you get to use rose water. Okay, so now we get to sieve the flour, our lavender flour as well as our chamomile flour. We get to sieve it out, strain it out, then add this water into our black soap and soak it overnight. So that's what we intend to do right now. So we get to leave this overnight. All right, we'll soak it overnight. All right, So this is actually it will form into a black soap. Now people who actually want to add their additives, after they've soaked it overnight, all right, then they can begin to add their additives at this point. So at this point, for you to see the foam here, you know, I said it earlier, I had to shrink my black soap. So if yours doesn't end up having foam, maybe you didn't shrink it, but you have to shrink it so that the water gets to soak in. That's the essence of it. You want the water to soak in with the black soap overnight, since you're going to be soaking it overnight. All right, so so this is the black soap we got overnight. Please don't mind the noise in the background. I'm at home right now, right? So this was what we got overnight, all right, because we're meant to let the black soap sit overnight. And remember, we used our water. I used rose water, but in your case, if you can get distilled water, fine. All right, you're supposed to use distilled water, but in my case, I didn't have distilled water, so I had to make use of rose water. All right, and I used the lavender flower and also chamomile flower, 2 tablespoons each of lavender flower and 2 tablespoons of chamomile flower. And I still had to strain the flower out, you know, to get the extract out, strain it out, and I threw the flower away. So that was when we added it into our black soap, and we mixed it, now Ghana black soap, and we left it overnight. So I'm just trying to rephrase everything we went through. Okay, so we're supposed to add our oil now that our black soap has stayed overnight. Okay, so inside this container we have our sweet almond oil, which was 113 grams. Hope you know you're not going to use ml, because if you use ml you won't get the accurate percentage I'm talking about right now. So you're going to use kitchen scale, 113 gram, jojoba oil, 141 grams. In here we also have we have our glycerine. I used whitening glycerine. All right, so this is it. I used whitening glycerine. So the whitening glycerine I used was 28 grams of whitening glycerine. Right, 28 grams of whitening glycerine. In here we have our honey, 28 grams of honey as well. That's what I have here, and we're going to pour it inside the black soap. And we also need our shea butter. This is our unrefined shea butter. Right, we need shea butter as well. We need 30 grams of shea butter and cocoa butter. Now some people will be like, cocoa butter, if you actually want to use it for glowing the skin, all right, and you don't want it to lighten the skin that much, just to tone, then you can add the cocoa butter. But if you want it to lighten the skin, then don't add the cocoa butter, just go ahead and add the shea butter. All right, if you just few grams of shea butter, if you want to add, it depends on the number of grams you want to put into. It's not going to have any effect whatsoever if you're putting your shea butter. So now, after we've mixed all these things together, that is when you can now add your whitening additives. That is, if you actually have a whitening additives you actually want to include into your black soap. All right, so if you want to add your whitening additives, then you can go ahead and add your whitening additives. In this case, if you actually want to use kojic dip, use this oil to dissolve your kojic dip before you include it into your black soap. All right, and if you, from the onset, you have an idea that you probably wanted to add your kojic acid, or you probably want to use sepia white powder, be rest assured you should have dissolved it with the distilled water or the rose water. Allow it to go through the heat process, then it will sit overnight with your black soap. But in my case, I'm not using any powder whatsoever. This is actually meant for toning. That's why I didn't include all those soaps, okay, so, all those additives. All right, so I'm going to include this is our glycerine going in right now. I just have to use the spatula to get every bit of it out of the cup. All right, so this is also our honey going in. You can see it's original honey. I left it all through the night, and no trace of ants got close to it, and I left it on the floor. Right. Okay, so in this case we get to add our oil. So if you want to add your powders like goat milk powder whatsoever, you can add it like that. You don't have to dissolve your goat milk powder. They don't dissolve goat milk powder. This is my shea butter. Right, so that's it. Added more than 30 grams because I'm not actually using cocoa butter. Cocoa butter is quite heavy, so most times in my, except I'm probably making a cream like caramel cream or something, or a lotion for dark skin person, that's when I can boldly use cocoa butter. But in a case where I'm actually making it for a light skin, or I want to tone the skin a bit, I will not use cocoa butter. I can't use it. All right, so you get to pound the black soap. You can see it. All right, now before pounding the black soap, I said that you can add your whitening additives. It now depends on whatever you want to add into it. All right, it's up to you. If you want to go around and add soap activator, you want to add your bobo tibo, you can go ahead and add it. You want to add your giga white, you want to go ahead and add your sim white, you want to go ahead and whatever you want to add, snow white powder, every other thing you want to add. Okay, so this is how it turns out, because all right, you get to pound it. You can see it. All right, you can add your other stuff inside. You can add your ozone soap, okay, to give you color. All right, because if you add your ozone soap, be rest assured that you're going to alter the color, but then again you want it to whiten the skin, so you can add your ozone soap, the blue one, the pink one. You can go ahead and try out your whitening oils. You can go ahead and do whatever you want to do with it. Okay, now in place of the oil we added our almond oil. I did that because you probably want a moisturizing skin, as well as you're using a black soap. You also want to be enriched with your skin. You want to glow and at the same time use a black soap. So you can add your whitening oils. There's so many oils in the market that you can add, okay, if you actually want to whiten the skin with your black soap. Some people will be like, oh, I want black soap that can whiten. All right, so it now depends on whatever you want to add to it. This is the stage before we pound this. That's the stage when I start adding those oils. That's the stage you start to add your own whitening additives. All right, that's the stage you add it. And even this stage you can still add whatever you want to add, because we are still pounding, we're not done. So you can add whatever you want to add. You want to add your goat milk powder, you can just pour it. You want to add your soap activator, you can pour it. Whatever you want to add into it, just pour it and pound everything together. All right, but this is how it would form. You can see how slimy it looks. You can see how it looks. All right, so it's going to form like this. Okay, so I just finished making the black soap, so I want you guys to actually check out the video, and please share, like, and subscribe to my channel. And I love you guys like Kilo Day. Bye guys.